Greetings and welcome to another Patch Notes video here at Words About Games, a weekly video series that lets us host discussions and post opinion pieces about our various thoughts on games, gaming, and the industry. Today I want to talk about Hades, the next game from Bastion and Transistor devs Supergiant Games, which is currently available in early access on the Epic Games Store. For the most part, I tend to avoid games in early access as I prefer to hang fire and play games when they're quote-unquote done, but I've had Hades sitting in my library since picking it up during Epic Summer Sale, and with the recent update decided to give it a shot. As an aside, I've been looking for an avenue to make some preview content, and I figured that my weekly opinion series would be a good fit for it. Plus it means I can take some time between big video essays, which are a lot more in-depth and take more time to produce. Anyway, Hades is a roguelike action RPG where you're trying to escape the underworld for reasons unknown, at least in the beginning of the game. You play as Zagreus, Prince of the Underworld. As it turns out, it's not all that easy to break out of Hades, and you'll find yourself dying and retrying a fair few times in the attempt. And thus begins a gameplay loop that'll be familiar to anyone who's ever played a roguelike before. The structure sees you venturing out into the twisting, ever-changing underworld, eventually getting your ass handed to you, and starting again. In each run, you'll collect some resources that persist between lives, specifically darkness and skeleton keys. Darkness is spent buying and upgrading certain abilities, such as healing between rooms or increasing the number of dashes you have. Skeleton keys unlock new weapons for your arsenal and new abilities that you can then acquire with darkness. It's all fairly standard stuff for the genre. Once you've used your darkness and keys, you pick your weapon of choice and set off for another run at escaping. During your run, you'll receive assistance from the gods of Olympus, who are all eager for Zagreus to escape and join them, in the form of buffs and enhanced abilities. Every now and again you'll encounter a God's token and be able to choose from 3 of these upgrades to equip. There's a huge amount of variety to what you can find, so much so that even if you're on the same weapon over and over, 2 runs can still be drastically different simply depending on what upgrades you pick. One of my runs, for example, saw me start out with an upgrade to my bow's standard attack. Normally you use the bow by holding down X and releasing the fire, but this ability let me fire faster by simply pushing the button. I paired that with an ability that left behind a damaging saw blade whenever I dashed, and I blitzed my way to the second boss fight with ease, something that had proven quite challenging up until that point. Herein lies one of the problems. Not necessarily specifically with Hades, but more a part of the whole roguelike genre that can feel irksome. That run with the quick-firing bow was fantastic, but I haven't found that ability again. It's like I finally found the loadout that fits my playstyle, but it's down to the luck of the draw whether I ever managed to get hold of it again. I've made a few runs since, and all of them have fell much shorter, as I haven't found the single ability that I enjoyed using so much before. It took the wind out of my sails a little, going from having such a blast to having slightly less of a blast. But that's the difference. I'm not saying I was having a bad time without this one specific loadout. Hades is still a great game, and I'm still loving throwing myself against it in the hope of making more progress. There really is a lot to love about how the game is shaping up in early access. All of the weapons feel pretty good. Although I've settled on the bow as my weapon of choice, at least during the few I've unlocked, I've tried a few weapons and enjoyed them all. The shield, which you can use as a melee weapon or throw it at enemies Captain America style, and the spear, which can attack from a distance or throw and recoil like Kratos' axe, are both really fun to use. Maybe I just really like throwing things at enemies. It probably helps that the combat feels really good. It's incredibly slick and fast-paced, and when you're in the groove it can really empower you and make you feel like a badass. Although it has to be said, when you're facing a lot of enemies it can be quite disorienting and easy to lose track of what's going on, as the screen can quickly fill up with enemies and explosions of colour, particularly in the second biome. There's tons more I could say to sing the praises of Hades. The music is, as you'd imagine, absolutely fantastic, with the boss fight music a particular highlight. The second this game's soundtrack becomes available, I'll be adding it to my library and listening to it constantly. The characters and their interactions with Zagreus are great too, though the game currently feels a little light on story, which is a different look for a Supergiant game, but I imagine a lot is probably being held back for Hades' full release. So far I've only really gotten one story scene after beating the first boss, and honestly, I'd rather keep it that way and save the meat of the narrative for when I sit down to play the full game. All in all, what's available of Hades right now feels like a fully finished game as opposed to a game still in development. I've played quote-unquote finished games that have felt far less polished than Hades. I probably won't play too much more of the game to save the rest for the full release, but at the same time, I can feel the pull of diving in for just one more run, which definitely has me hyped for the full game whenever it's launched. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please leave us a comment, like, or subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We've got tons of awesome videos coming every week, including review impressions, indie game of the week, debate-driven top 5 lists, video essays, and our weekly podcast where we discuss games, gaming culture, and the games industry. We also stream 3 times a week at twitch.tv/wordsaboutgames. But most importantly, have a fantastic day.